You are on News 360, and in a moment we will delve heavily into the use of the Heritage Fund. We've had debates to and fro from the two political parties. In the studio is Fifi Kwete, who is a former Deputy Finance Minister, has also worked in other portfolios. And in 2014, Fifi justified the use of the Heritage Fund in supporting government budget. Good to see you, Honorable Fifi Kwete. Great to have you here. But Portia, my colleague here, has some graphics to share with us on the screen.
Exactly. It's a lot of debate going on about using the Heritage Fund to fund the free SHS policy. In 2014, when Ghana was going through some economic challenges, it first began with General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Esiedu Nketia. And what did he propose? He said, in this current situation that we find ourselves in, it doesn't make economic sense to be keeping any money called Heritage Fund. So that's what he did say. Then we had a member of Occupy Ghana, Casely Hayford, Sydney Casely Hayford, and on 3rd of May 2014, he said the Heritage Fund belongs to the unborn children of the people of Ghana. It's the future generation's money, and those of us who are here today should forget about touching it. Let's leave it alone. Let it sit over there. So that is what he had to say about the Heritage Fund as well. Then we also had Professor Jan Bafo. He did say that when you have a deficit in development, you don't go and put some money, stash it in an account somewhere, and bureaucrats actually feed on that money. That is what he also had to say about the Heritage Fund. Then, Issa, we also have Dominic Nitiwul. He was responding to what General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Esiedu Nketia, did say about using the Heritage Fund to help Ghana solve its economic challenges. And he says, I don't think the NDC will be brave enough, or they will muster courage to bring that matter to Parliament for us to spend time on. And seasons have indeed changed. We also did hear, Issa, the story that you did read about the minority saying that it will resist any attempt to bring this issue into Parliament. Issa.
Absolutely. Thank you, Portia. And Fifi, massive documentation there, several shades of opinion on what the Heritage Fund should be used for. I mean, you are quoted to have said back in 2014 that it should not be used, or it should be used for budgetary support rather. Do you still stand by that statement?
Actually, it's inaccurate to say I said it should be used for budgetary support. No.
All right.
I never at any point say it should be used for budgetary support.
Okay.
In fact, these different viewpoints you just showed our many viewers clearly explain the whole narrative and the discourse that took place, even while the law was being prepared.
Okay.
Even when we were doing the various movement across the country, some of us were of the view that Heritage Fund kept in financial instrument that yield about 1% on an annual basis in a country where inflation sometimes is in the region of about 15%. If you look at it in terms of the net returns, that really is nothing, it's not yielding anything for the country. Our view, and I'm talking about those of us within the NDC who thought we should not keep Heritage Fund, our view was that we should actually be investing it into instruments that will yield far more. At no stage did we even conceive that anyone would have, the absolutely unbelievable idea of the NPP to be using it for something which you consider to be recurrent expenditure. So we are talking about capital developmental expenditure.
You are opposed to its use for supporting education because it will not yield in the dividends now? Is that the reason why?
I think it's good to look at it within the proper perspective so that we can appreciate it. Now, to make it appear as if we are opposed to any form of investment in education is wrong, because that's not the case. In fact, if there is any group that has shown greater commitment to education, it will be the NDC. NDC set up the Ghana Education Trust Fund. And that Education Trust Fund today has been responsible for a lot of progress that we have seen in the educational sector. Our commitment to education absolutely cannot be questioned. The point we are making is this, that we have different means by which you can finance education. We have the normal taxes, which you and I and all the people of Ghana make effort to contribute.
But Fifi,
you use that for education.
Yeah.
If you feel currently what you are using for education is not enough, you just do your reallocation. Let some other areas go down and then take more of that taxation for education.
Yeah.
If you feel that's not enough, you have the GET fund. If you feel the GET fund is not enough, you have the 70% of the oil revenue, which is absolutely allowed for you to use for education if you want to. If you decide to use 100% of that 70% for education, nobody stops you. The point we are making is that you don't go and use heritage fund. We actually is set aside, if anything at all, what you want to do, the heritage fund, is to want to invest it in instruments that actually will yield more for generations to come. And not to desperately want to also add it to so much pool that you already have available for education.
Right. I mean, some other opinion is that you have stated right now that there's no competition when it comes to what the NDC has done in terms of investing into education.
No, you cannot dispute our commitment to education.
About what your commitment to education. Yes. Right. But this is also another commitment to education. Is it the fear that it may probably overcome yours? It's bigger than your commitment?
No, not at all. The point and I think that point I just made already. The point I'm making is, listen, if we had no other way of financing education, and NPP said, because there is no other way to finance education, we will do this, we understand it, because clearly education is important. But we actually have. What is stopping the NPP from dedicating the 70% oil a resource which is available to ABFA all to education? If that's what their priority is, then dedicate it. Because that is why in framing the what you call the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, the country, and the country I mean on both sides, NDC, NPP, and not just that, we went across the length and breadth of Ghana. And I'm telling you that even then, as Deputy Minister of Finance, myself and my other colleague, Setekpe, we had opposing view. Setekpe, he was of the view that it should be set aside like it is now. Some of us to the view that if anything at all, it should be set aside in instrument that will yield far more for Ghana. So we were in the same. We felt it must be used in a manner in which the future generation will have much more benefit. Now,
but is education,
and the whole of Ghana agreed on that.
Wouldn't education yield much more benefit?
Listen, the whole of Ghana agreed that that fund must be set up and must not be touched until the final oil is used up. That's what Ghana wanted. Okay. And that's not just Ghana wanting it in the year 2010 when we were preparing the Petroleum Management Revenue Act. Even in 2014, PIAC did another tour and the same views were again re-echoed by the people of Ghana. So really, there's no debate at all about it. Okay. Listen, when you go on a campaign platform making promises, what you want to do is to make sure you obviously have found really legitimate and creative means by which you want to finance it. When NDC, under President Mahama, promised to build 200 schools, we knew that you cannot touch Heritage Fund. That's why we never bought it. We went and made use of the legitimate means by which you can do it, through normal taxation, or through the GET Fund, or through using some of the ABFA to do so. That's what you do when you are creative government that actually wants to do things properly.
All right, I understand the Honorable Kweku Kwarteng is also on the line and he would want to contribute to this matter. Okay. Hello, Kweku Kwarteng, good to have you.
Well, good evening. I was invited to contribute to this discussion and I'm happy you have me.
Right, so why would your government want to touch the Heritage Fund to finance free SHS?
Well, to start with, I agree with many of the things that Honorable Fifi Kwete isn't it?
Right, it's Fifi Kwete.
Yes, I agree with many of the things that Honorable Fifi Kwete has said. And I would like to state very clearly that nobody has indicated that government has made a decision to use Heritage Fund to finance the free SHS commitment we made. I listened to the senior minister. I have spoken with the senior minister before this interview. I can say to you that it is not government policy. Indeed, the budget will be coming out in the first week of March, and the free SHS is a commitment we would fulfill, and the means of funding it would be clear in the budget statement. So That is an assurance you must have. The second point I wish to make is that, as Honorable Fifi Kwete said, many Ghanaians believe that the Heritage Fund ought not to be tagged, and that no matter how poor you are, the culture of saving is necessary, that you must try and save for the future. These sentiments have been captured in the budget. If at all government decided to use the Heritage Fund, it means the necessary amendments will be made to the law. Now, we are mindful of the fact that there are many who believe that you have